We have all been in situations in our lives where something goes wrong. Tension forms in our minds and our physical selves as we obsess with the very real compulsion to fix this unwelcome situation. We might even feel physical pain as we wrestle with the problem. We definitely will have troubles thinking straight. It is all about, I have to fix this, and I have to fix it now. Then comes the moment when help arrives. And in a wonderful turnaround, you recognize it's going to be okay. Think about how your mind and body respond to this new development. Think about the rush of endorphins, the immediate relaxation, the sudden clarity of thought. You can see things that moments ago were obscured by fear and confusion. Now, hold on to this image because it is so vital to the next stage of your career. Hello and welcome to Cool Time Life. I'm Steve Prentice. Each of our Cool Time Life episodes focuses on a topic dealing with people, productivity, technology, and work life, and each offers ideas and facts you need to know about to thrive in today's busy world. An index of our podcasts is available at cooltimelife.com. So here's a related question for you. When is the last time that you took a vacation? Many working people do not take much in the way of vacations, some not at all, not ever. Their reasons may vary: too much work to get done, fear of being replaced if they are suddenly not there for a week, a lack of trust that your colleagues can do the work in your absence. This is very sad because vacations, even short ones, have three major benefits, not just one. The time spent on vacation is the most obvious one, certainly, but so too is the anticipation of an upcoming vacation. Observing that well-deserved period of R&R getting closer delivers a sense of comfort and clarity similar to the resolution of a panic situation like the story that I told at the beginning of this episode. Knowing something good is coming can be as healthy and cathartic as the good thing itself. So, the anticipation of a vacation is in itself a major benefit. And the third is the memory of that vacation. A nice vacation is a life memory, something you will carry with you forever. Moments like that are what life should be made of, and as the expression goes, nobody on their deathbed is likely to say, "I wish I had spent more time at the office." It is that sense of anticipation that is a tonic, especially when work gets tough. If you are in a crunch period right now with back-to-back projects and meetings, it can be, or it will be, mentally and physically exhausting. There seems to be no way out, no fix, except if there is. When I work with overloaded people, I implore them to plan some time off, even if it is just a day, because it is not just that day that counts, it is also knowing that that day is coming. This provides comfort and clarity even during these times of overload and crisis. The benefits of any vacation start the moment that date is set, even if it is months away, and the benefits last your whole life. Now, let me turn these stories over to what this episode is really about, and that is the emotional and physiological value of generative AI in the workplace. That's quite a leap, eh? But not really. Generative AI is not a mere advancement, it is a true innovation with benefits well beyond the immediate and far beyond the technical procedures that most people think about. So consider email for a moment. Email has been around for a long time, but most people will agree it hasn't made work any easier. In most cases, it has simply added to the pile, both physically, in terms of the number of emails received, and also physiologically, in terms of the stress we all feel, knowing there may be more unread emails in the inbox at this very moment. Email was not an innovative technology. It was, and still is, simply an advancement. It was not something new that we hadn't seen before. It was still about composing a letter, placing it in an envelope, and sending it to somebody else, only faster. The same goes for online searching. Like doing a Google search or any brand of search engine, it's the modern-day equivalent of going into a library or a bookstore, real life or online, and wandering through the collections in the hopes of finding something. But in these cases, such an exercise can be overwhelming and counterproductive. How many books should you pull from the shelves or review? How many websites in a Google search should you follow from your search results, and where inside them should you look? Research in this form delivers at best a static collection of information, and this can lead to frustration and distraction. Search engines, for all their speed and depth, have basically remained as enormous library indexes, where information is at hand but where a great deal of energy is required to find it and extract any value from it. Googling is simply an advancement of the age-old act of research without the help of a librarian. So, advancements like email and Google simply update existing tools or techniques. They enhance slightly what we already do. We've seen this before in many other situations too. Think about the transition from film cameras to digital. Same technique, only faster and easier and cheaper. Paper maps were replaced by GPS to help us find our way around when driving. That was an advancement. But only when crowdsourced real-time data was added through apps like Waze, a feature that makes intelligent, real-time suggestions for better routes and delivers a sense of community through communication and gamification. Only then was there true innovation in the act of using maps. A word processor like Microsoft Word does the same thing as a typewriter, only with a dictionary attached. Each of these technologies and many more like them made a familiar process faster and easier and more efficient, but they didn't fundamentally change what the process was. You can still get writer's block with Microsoft Word. Innovation, on the other hand, opens the door to something entirely different. It doesn't just improve how we work, it changes what we are able to do. Electricity was an innovation. The internet was an innovation, and generative AI certainly belongs in that category. It changes how we do things, not just mechanically, but also psychologically and emotionally, for the better. Now imagine you are an accountant, responsible for helping small business owners do their year ends and file their taxes. Now let's imagine also that your client, a small business owner, has literally kept all the receipts from the business in a shoebox, and they didn't have the time or the desire to use bookkeeping software. Now you as the accountant face many tedious hours of data entry to get these files in some sort of order before even starting to help your entrepreneur client with the filing. Maybe you can delegate that, but simply the dread that accountants feel when confronting these types of tedious tasks, especially during peak season, tax season, that dread is palpable. And it directly affects an accountant's capacity to think strategically or even to schedule time to talk to their clients. That's what fear does. That's what dread does. It blocks the desire to continue creatively. Today, however, that accountant can simply lay those receipts out on the floor, take a photograph of them, and have a generative AI app like ChatGPT categorize them into a spreadsheet and have it make suggestions about what the client should do next. It will also offer to present the information in a pie chart, draft up the summary report for the client, schedule some reminder messages for the client, and set up an agenda for a client meeting, complete with an invite, worded in such a way as to capture the client's interest and make them want to attend. All in seconds. It can also suggest some new ideas and topics for the accountant to broach with the client. Now those are some truly innovative actions that go well beyond data entry and analysis. The generative AI tool is transforming the activity of consolidating raw data into some truly creative professional activities that the accountant may not have thought of, or that fear and procrastination pushed out of sight. Now let's pull all these threads of this podcast together. I started this episode by talking about the clarity and relief that a person feels when they detect that a crisis is about to be rescued and resolved. I then talked about the therapeutic benefits of anticipating a vacation, not just taking a vacation, but knowing that it's coming. All of this, to me, represents one of the primary but less discussed benefits of the generative AI revolution. It is, literally, a mindset change and a change in one's physiology. The dread that accountant once felt about all that tedious work has now been removed to be replaced by energy, enthusiasm, and from that, a genuine interest and a desire to relate to the client on a much higher creative level, giving a greater capacity for creative thinking to talk about strategies, the future, and new ideas for the client to try. When tedious, stressful, or fear-inducing work is resolved, the mind and body feel more able to roam. This opens up channels of creative thought that were previously held closed by the obligations of tedious work. These are the types of benefits that generative AI technology offers. This technology is not simply an apples-for-apples exchange of a previous process in the way that email replaced postal mail. In addition to performing the tasks, generative AI also injects a sense of creative freedom and motivation, thanks to the person now knowing that the boring, tough, or tedious stuff will be taken care of. This relief, this awareness, is as energizing as the knowledge of a problem about to be resolved or the anticipation of an upcoming, well-deserved and overdue vacation. So yeah, when people first encounter generative AI, they often think of it as a kind of supercharged Google or supercharged typewriter. But it is so much more than that. A big part of it is you knowing that the ideas are now out there, knowing that help is on the way. The more that people become aware of that creativity being out there, the better and more creative they become. AI technology makes people smarter. Not by replacing us, but by assisting and accompanying us, and basically by boosting us, emotionally and intellectually. Generative AI may be a computer technology, but LLMs are trained on human material in the form of billions of pages of human-created text. It has been trained on the collective output of humanity. This fosters independent problem-solving rather than making people reliant on it, and allows us to foster a human relationship-style pattern with the technology in terms of how we converse with it, and in terms of additional features like context and empathy from its output. Yes, it is all the result of data processing and not a true sentient being, but the effect is still powerful and positive. In a previous episode, I discussed how important physical space is for the act of learning. Basically, I talked about how you can learn more by looking around a room than you can by staring at a screen or a teacher, because the physical space of your environment adds to your capacity to process ideas. This is something additional to consider when evaluating generative AI. You can talk to it, and it will talk to you in a very human-styled way. You can't do this with a Google search. You can ask generative AI questions or tell it what you are thinking, and it can respond with highly nuanced answers. But more than that, like with any conversation with a real human, half or more of the value comes from you hearing yourself talk and processing your own thoughts with those of your conversational partner. This is the same when interacting with Gen AI, whether you type or chat with it. Discussing, talking, and conversation are vital tools for processing information. Often, even as you think about what you might ask ChatGPT, for example, or Perplexity, or Copilot, the act of thinking helps you clarify your own ideas. It's a self-reflection thing, highly cathartic and practical. Even if you know, or you think you know, what you plan to work on, bouncing a statement off generative AI may result in a couple of additional avenues that you didn't think of. Oh yeah, that's great, I can add that to my report, my proposal, or whatever. That's what conversation in the real world does, and yes, having a conversation with Copilot can yield the same results. Quite frankly, friendly dialogue feels good. And when it feels good, all other kinds of lights come on. Now remember, there is a difference between efficiency and creativity. Work itself is more than just completing tasks. It also must give us a sense of purpose, usefulness, and motivation in our lives overall. Some people worry that generative AI robs people of the opportunity to actually think and create, therefore eliminating some of that sense of usefulness, value, and purpose, meaning, and motivation. But I feel the opposite. I think that conversations with generative AI, which again are based on a database of human experience, actually enhance these situations. Sometimes an impediment to success in work and motivation comes from having no light visible at the end of the tunnel. No finish line on the horizon. This, by the way, is a key aspect of maintaining morale in long-term projects. For example, the importance of celebrating small wins along the way. A project manager or a team leader has the plan in place and can see the finish line themselves, but it's not the same for all the team members who are working, at least partially, in the dark. Allowing people to know that their answers are out there and that progress is being made is vital to any project's success. So it is, too, with other tasks. Very often, things take longer than they should because people don't know how to get started. They may suffer writer's block or get overwhelmed by the size of a project before them. And it is at this juncture that generative AI can come to the rescue by providing a plan with steps, maybe even a downloadable schedule, and a first outline of a document. It's not that it is writing the document entirely for you necessarily. More importantly, it's a presence by your side, setting up those first steps, breaking through the wall of procrastination and tapping into the enthusiasm and commitment that lies behind it. So why are we still nervous about generative AI? Because it's new. With any new technology or change, especially one this powerful and seemingly all-encompassing, there comes a sense of uncertainty. As I have already mentioned, with uncertainty comes the instinct of fear and the desire to stay with what we are already used to. The most common responses to generative AI, for example, are that it will steal your job, that it's coming for all the creatives, and that we're just not ready for the scope and sophistication of what it can do. That fear is normal, and it is not irrational. It is human. This type of fear often comes from what we don't understand or for which we only have partial knowledge or experience. And the best antidote to fear is full knowledge and full experience. I was teaching a course in project management just recently, and as an exercise in estimation techniques, I challenged the class to calculate how much time, money, resources, and people would be required to completely empty the classroom of all its desks, chairs, furniture, and fixtures. This is a typical estimation exercise that I run. Naturally, the students work through the calculations based on their understanding of the task and estimating what they don't know. But very few still think about outsourcing the estimation to a professional mover, a human being, or a company. And almost no one thinks of the hidden risks and delays that come with such a job, such as booking an electrician to remove the overhead projector. These are the constraints or the risks to the project. But back to generative AI, I show them this. I take a photograph of the room, and I upload it to ChatGPT with a request, a prompt, for an optimized assessment for the clear-out. Within seconds, it delivers an inventory of the room, counting the desks, chairs, and other fixtures, along with 4 or more different approaches to moving, based on a team of 3 people, 4 people, or 6 people, and so on. It makes suggestions on delegation, such as assigning one person to the action of taking things apart. It provides a timeline and a risk register of the 10 most likely risks to the project, ranging from physical injury, damage to walls and door frames, all the way through to allergies caused by the raising of dust. Now, this kind of advice can be just the thing to pull a team together, with a level of commitment and desire that wasn't there before. It took no one's job away. In fact, it helps get the task done in the most efficient way possible, allowing those team members to get back to other tasks more quickly. You might say it takes away the job of the project manager, but no, the project manager is still in charge of the project, and things such as allergies raised by dust might be something that they would never have thought about. It's a great aha moment. When doing this kind of exercise, most students in my project management classes are amazed by this, because their perception of generative AI was one of simply being a fast way to write a memo, and nothing more. Knowing what generative AI can and can't do, and knowing how to talk to it and how to use it, gives people a sense of control that they thought they had lost. Simply knowing the advice is out there gives us a sense of optimism and willingness. And quite frankly, any time you look at a task, a project, or a document and you think, there must be an easier way to do this, the odds are there is. And the odds are even better that a well-written prompt in your LLM of choice will help you in ways you never considered. To conclude, then, generative AI is not here to replace people. It is here to assist with tasks, especially repetitive or routine ones, so that we, people, can do more of what only we humans can do. That is to connect, imagine, empathize, and lead. If you have a comment about this podcast, please join the conversation under my posts supporting this podcast on LinkedIn, and consider signing up for my newsletter on LinkedIn as well. You can find me on LinkedIn at Stephen Prentice, STEVENPRENTICE. Or feel free to drop me a line through the contact form at cooltimelife.com, where you will find a full listing of our Cool Time Life episodes. If you feel you are getting value from this series, please do leave a review and tell just one person about us. Or mention us on social media. Until next time, stay safe, and thanks for listening.